Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Beyond Recovery. My name is Matt Garden, the host. My guest today is Sam Lander, SeeFit Living. Sam, thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. We had a funny discussion before we went on. I caught you just as your desk was like destroying itself or something. A bunch of stuff fell off, and you're talking some granola here, and yeah. So I was like, let's get rolling because we're having some good conversation. Let's get stuff recording here right away. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
For sure, for sure. I want to get into everything you're doing. You got a lot going on. I love your Instagram is like it's got a really cool vibe to it, as do you in person or through Zoom. But before I do, like, I'd really like to hear, what your origin story was. I'll give you the floor. I'd love to hear your background, what got you into, the drugs and alcohol, what got you out
Okay.
of it,
I'm like, which direction do we go?
right? Just if you want to go on whatever tangent you want to go on, if it
Oh,
gets off the beaten path or you forget something, I'll be taking notes. I'll get you back on.
okay. I mean, I could talk for hours, I guess, about that. So, I'm born and raised in a a fairly non-alcoholic family, not a lot of drama, not a lot of death, and there was like some emotional trauma, things like that, but nothing like, oh, this explains why this girl's doing these things, that kind of like, that's why she chose that path. I just sort of somewhere along the line, I had like, I'm very like, I don't even know how to like explain that. Outgoing is not the word, but I kind of had this mentality of eventually like live life to the fullest. And at that point, it was like party as hard as you fucking can and, do crazy shit, that's going to kill you like that. Like, but that's really not the proper definition now that I've gotten older. So it's sort of like now it's like go travel and do great things and whatever, grow as a person, personal growth. And, so I did that. So in high school, I was, I definitely was a blackout drinker when I was younger. And drank a lot, drank and drove, definitely a lot of run-ins with the police, never got in trouble, never got in trouble. Like, I mean, I remember there were times where I do like the tests, the breathalyzers and like walk, I walk backwards, whatever the fuck that do.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember one time they just like were like, I was like, I live right there. And they were like, okay, we'll just give you a ride home. But, it's just, I just got out of a lot. And so, not a lot of consequences for my behavior as far as being an addict. And I would kind of stop and then go hardcore again. I was always a really good athlete. Like I was the number one rower in the US. I, was a really good swimmer when I swam. So I was still able to keep up with a lot of my responsibilities. So with that comes a lot of the disease, which is cunning and baffling, saying, oh, well, you're okay. You're fine. You're still doing all this other stuff. I ended up at University of Michigan. Did well there, drank a lot in the beginning. I always hated drinking. It was definitely like I blacked out. I mean, I didn't like it, but I kept doing it. But I like come to like my later years of my recovery, I realized that like drinking was a big part of my story. But then for so long, when I got first into recovery, it was more all about, the drug use that I ended up doing. So I graduated Michigan, was supposed to move out to LA, help launch a liquor. And that's when I got into like the drugs hardcore, like kind of my senior year of college. I was visiting friends in LA in the gay scene.
Mhm.
They love the club drugs, doing a lot of, I mean, the first time I did meth, I'd been partying all weekend and doing like GHB. And so I found my cocktail basically. I didn't black out. I could do GHB. I didn't feel like shit the next day. And then once you threw meth in there, it was like, okay, well, I have ADD. It's like I got my Adderall now. Like I'm good,
Yeah.
And I was always prescribed all that stuff and never touched it. And I mean, there's definitely like family trauma and anxiety that was self-medicating, but nothing when I hear some of the stories like in the rooms of AA and stuff. And then But then I moved out there, I got into drugs. My job fell through. I decided to buy 2 turntables, become a DJ, produce music, and that's where it went. And I was just surrounded by addicts and people who partied, and so it was all normal, really. Yeah, and I started selling a lot of drugs and pretty much ended up landing myself in prison, and that's kind of where that went. I can keep going.
Yeah, let's yeah, I love, yeah, thanks for giving me a spot to we can
Yeah,
reflect back. Like as soon as you say DJ, yeah, for sure. Like DJ, anything in the music industry is like so normalized. It's like you're literally encouraged to do drugs and drink on the job, literally. Like, you know what I mean? So I could see where that would definitely have turned you into, normalizing that so much. Well, I guess I'm just kind of curious more because like I'm a musician, like where did the DJing come from? Like were you into that music before and you're like, I'm gonna learn how to do this? Like where did that
so
inspiration came from?
I have always been like an old soul, loved all music. Like music like fuels me. Like when I'm going through something, I could be like, oh, that's when I was listening to that song. Like that's what got me through that
Yeah.
song. That song got me through that.
Yeah.
And like really old, so like the Janis Joplin, the Beatles, like that was
Mm.
all my jam. Like, and I
Mhm.
was really young. I was like, I mean, my first concerts were Rod Stewart and like Paul Simon with my mom
Wow.
and dad. Yeah. And then New
Yeah.
Kids on the Block and Debbie Gibson. But like I loved it all. Like except for like heavy metal is just not my jam. But
Sure.
I really, so it always kind of like, it helped me through everything. It was like my therapy. And I was a spinning instructor, and like that there's
Mm.
music that ties in with that. So all through college, I taught spinning, and there was a big connection with music through that. And then when I was helping launch, so in college, the job I was supposed to have when I moved to LA, I was launching a liquor. And so I was doing a lot of the promoting. So I was working with Tiesto and like with all these big DJs that would come to these clubs to promote this vodka that I was helping them launch. Which is funny thing is I actually didn't drink at the time. Like I had cases and kegs lining up in my like room in college.
Wow.
I lived with like 11 guys, so it was crazy. So, but I didn't drink. I was because you don't GHB, you don't drink. I mean, I probably would have put it that way.
Right,
Come
right.
to like think of it.
Yeah.
But so I got into that music scene, and I was like, I want to like do that. Like this is amazing. Like, and then I went out and I was hanging out with all the gay boys, and that's like the late night circuit parties are all these DJs and electronic music, and I was like, this is it. Like the job
Mm.
fell through, and I was like, fuck it. And I got a job at like a really good, like the record label I wanted. I got an internship. Like everything just was like
Wow. Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
And like I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and I would do it, and it would happen. I'm kind of one of those like I don't really like. I fail a lot,
Mm.
but then again, I like don't even think about. I don't think I now more so, but like I don't take as many risks. But at that point,
Mm.
I just didn't think of the failure that could happen. Like, who cares if I don't get the job? I'm just gonna like,
Just
why
go
wouldn't I
for it.
get it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Um.
really cool.
Yeah.
So just something that came up. I'm just like, it seems like big part of your story is like you're able to hold this like high functioning. You're at a different, like you mentioned, number one rower in the country, and you get into DJing, and then everything's coming together for you. So meanwhile, you have this, these other like less desirable behaviors, yet you're able to keep things at such a high level as well. So I
That's
imagine there's part of you that's like, well, hey, like I can do whatever I want because like I'm still like a high level achiever, right? Was that part of your mindset?
that. Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure. And it was sort of like, if I'm not screwing up any of my responsibilities, then I'm good. And I'm not
Mm,
I'm using drug money to pay for drugs, so it's fine. It was the
right, right.
rationale was very, and it once I got sober, I realized like my thinking was totally like whack. Like it
Yeah,
just maybe like all the meth, I just was like numb to actually the reality of things.
yeah,
But like I was a high achiever, but like my personal life was utter chaos and
yeah.
unmanageable. And I was in an abusive relationship, and my good friends were like, we can't do this anymore. And I was hanging out with these like pretty horrible people at that point,
Mm.
and then became like a really big introvert. Um, and I'm a super extrovert, and I could tell like my morals eventually sort of started like bubbling up. Like I was like, okay, this isn't like my I had like something's got to change. Like I ended up and I was selling drugs. I got where I was kind of selling like just kind of large quantities to not a lot of people. I was DJing, but I like never really went out. Like I didn't use when I DJ'd. Like it was very like isolated in my home.
Mm.
But my relationship really like took me to like a really big bottom. Really abusive. If I tried to call the police to get restraining orders like 5 times. I couldn't. And I just knew I would be sick and tired of being sick and tired at some point, and hopefully I wouldn't be dead, is
Wow.
where I was. And then I had a full swap 2 weeks, and then I quit selling drugs. I mean, I had so many drugs at my house, you wouldn't know, but I quit selling drugs. And then my guy got busted. And then there was a full SWAT raid at my house. So it's like all these little events. It was like, okay, shit's like real at this point.
No doubt.
And I got out, and like the paranoia and the isolation and like not the unknown, like after spending like one night in this like cement box being like with a $500,000 bail, I was like, the
Ooh.
reality like hit me. Like I didn't
Yeah.
even think of the consequences of any of it doing it. I
Mhm.
didn't think about going to downtown LA by myself with like all this money and all these, like I just didn't think about any of it. And that's when I checked myself into rehab, at that point. So that was just like a big turn of events. So I was achieving things, but I can only imagine what I would have been achieving if I had been sober. That's the resentment I sometimes hold.
Sure,
But
absolutely. Excuse me. And I harken back to like one of the first comments you had when we started the interview. Like your idea of living life till its fullest was, I'm perceiving like this chaotic, like everything was turned up, right? Like including the partying, including all the different relationships with, looking back on it, pretty undesirable people to be tied in with. But perhaps that was you learning, like you wanted this idea of like this full life, and it kind of pulled in some of that darkness and that dark side of it too. Is that like a good way of summing it up, do you think?
I don't know. I don't know if I thought it was going to be a full life. I just
Okay.
I've always been drawn to like that type of like behavior. It's just
Hmm.
I don't know what that even mean. I don't know what that means or where it comes from.
Yeah.
I just have always been like like the movies I remember watching were like Basketball Diaries and
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like they were all like these dark drug addicts. Like the guys that I was like attracted to were like these dark, fucked up skater. Like, I mean, it
Yeah.
was like, I don't know, like something about that. I just was
Yeah.
like, those are my people. And maybe something like where I just didn't feel good enough to have like
Mm.
solid quality people in my life. Not that just because you're a skateboarder, you're a bad person. But
Right.
I mean,
Right.
they were definitely doing drugs. Like it was like kind of like the misfits. Um,
Gotcha.
and that I think has to stem with my high school was for me, it was really hard. Middle school and high school was really hard for me. Like I was definitely my brother was very popular, and I knew like I never really had a group. Like I
Mm.
never
Mhm.
like I was kind of all over, and then if I hung out with like the more popular people who don't do drugs because I was the athlete, but then they kind of talk down to me and I'd be like their delinquent friend, and then I sort of like,
Mm.
you that's what you create, like that's what you are. Like okay, I guess that's what I'm your delinquent friend, and that makes me special. Like I'm a unicorn. What the fuck? I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
And then I
I
have my
get you.
delinquent friends where we're just like, we don't, here we are doing whatever. I don't know.
Mm.
Could be part of it.
Yeah. It seems like you kind of fluctuated, like had
Yeah.
one foot in each, the athletes, you have one foot in the delinquents, right? The different archetypes you get in like middle school and high school, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, let's go back into it's interesting. So you checked yourself into rehab. By that point, what was your coursing through your system? You're still doing like meth at that point,
Yeah.
not
So at
really
that
drink.
point,
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty much just meth, and I definitely cut back. Um, and I remember just sitting in my apartment and kind of like looking at my dog and being like, what do I do? Like, and she put her, should I go to rehab? Like, I didn't even know what that meant. Like, I don't even know what
Yeah.
12 steps meant, like the program.
Right.
I didn't know. I just knew like people did sit, like I knew about meetings and movies, but I didn't even, and I thought a drug, everybody thinks like, what's your bottom? Well, everybody has a different bottom.
Yeah.
And I thought
100%.
like living out of a car and like shooting up heroin, like all this stuff is
Yeah.
bottom, but no, no, no. This was like my bottom. And my
Right.
dog like came over and I just put her head in my lap and I was like, I'm gonna call my parents and I'm going to rehab. It's time. Like something
Yeah.
has to change. And a friend of mine had gone and I had visited him and he's like, listen, you should go. Like, and I went and it was like, I loved it.
Really?
I would go back in a second. Like,
Wow. That's so
if
cool.
I
That's
didn't
such
have
a
so
cool.
many responsibilities and a lot of
Yeah.
money, I mean,
Yeah.
I loved it. I
Tell me.
loved it.
Okay. Well, definitely going to talk about this before we do a quick question. What kind of dog?
She looks like a giant Basenji.
Yes.
Yeah, I found her
That's
in the
right.
warehouse district of LA, like covered in oil, and she was this
Oh, man.
teeny puppy. She went
Oh,
with me everywhere. Yeah,
that's amazing.
she was psycho. Yeah,
So, yeah. And
she's a
helped
meth
you.
addict.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah. Right. And helped you, helped you go to rehab. You had that
Yeah.
conversation with
Dog
her.
saved my
So,
life. Yeah.
yeah, there you go. Dog saved your life. Interesting. Okay. So, back to the rehab thing. You loved it. What,
Uh,
you just took to it right away? What was it that you liked
I was
about it?
done. I was
Yeah.
just so done. Like,
Yeah.
you know
You
what I
were
mean? I
done.
was ready. I'm kind of one of those like takes things to the limit, and then when I'm done, I'm done.
Okay.
And except for like when I relapsed on alcohol, it was not, it was a lot harder than all this other. It
Yeah.
was so easy the first time. I just thought it would be easy again.
Right.
No, I was on that pink cloud. I started like I laughed. Like I just remember laughing so fucking hard and
Mm.
like I just been so numb to
Mm.
everything, and it was like all the happiness just bubbling out. Like
Mhm.
and everyone I was in there with, I just like loved them to death. It was
Yeah.
great.
Wow.
I grew up doing a lot of therapy
Mm.
um as a child, so maybe it was like so it was easier for me. The God thing, I think maybe tripped me up. Now working on a program again, like hardcore. I don't know. There's definitely things that I'm like, oh, I don't know that I really did get that, you know,
Yeah.
but maybe. But I stayed sober for 13 years. And I don't
Congratulations.
think I was considered a total dry drunk, but I was also in prison for 2 of them, doing a lot of work on myself, doing their drug
Mm.
treatment program. I did a lot of work. Um, and I had a lot of time before I went to prison to just go to meetings all over LA every single day. Like that's all I did.
Mm.
Um, but I loved it. God, I loved it. It's
Yeah.
just like
That's,
going to meetings, like I got
yeah.
started working out again.
Yeah.
I
So,
I I didn't even think twice about like the guy in that abusive relationship. The girl that was
yeah.
living with him ended up killing herself and like
Wow.
overdosing, and like he didn't call the police because he was so fucked up. And my parents were like, do you realize that could be you? Like it's just shit you don't even think about
Yeah.
because you're so
Man.
hungry.
Man. So I'm picking up that, like, yeah, the rehab, it gave you some of that structure. Like you say, you're getting to work out, you're getting to actually like socialize with the people, you're laughing a lot more. So yeah, interesting. How long were you in rehab for? Was it like
I
a
did 30 days.
30 days? And then after that, was you pretty much just good to
So
go?
so after that, I mean, I was waiting for my court dates for all of my.
Mm.
I hadn't had a federal case yet, but
Mhm.
I had the LA County one, and so I was just kind of waiting, like what was going to happen with that. So I ended up getting, I think, 8 months sentence. I think I did 28 days in LA County, which was hell. So I
Wow.
just was like, so I got out of rehab and I moved in with my a friend of mine who was in the drug world with me, but he got sober. And he's like, you should just go call my mom, just go stay with my mom. And I ended up staying with his parents out in
Oh.
yeah. And she was just like a blessing. Like this woman was amazing. I just hung out with her all day. We were like two peas in a pod. I'd go to meetings,
Hmm.
hang out with her, and just do my thing. Just took care of myself, and I just like got stronger. And
Yeah.
then I ended up, having to self surrender into prison, and then I moved back in with her and waited for my probation to get transferred and moved home.
Wow. So cool that like how things happen. You can look back and just be like, meeting certain people at certain times or having that dog, like big part of your story, right? Where at the time, perhaps you don't think too much of it, but to reflect back, be like, that person was so influential in a
Yeah.
really vulnerable time in your life, right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny, like, because I always think of like the people who are like, I don't think the people who are, they know at all how influential they are in my life
Right.
right now. Like my
Yeah.
OBGYN, like
Yeah.
I love this guy. Like he's
Yeah.
like I feel like I could call him for anything, but he's
Yes.
just like he has no fucking idea. He's probably what the
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. But there's something like certain people, I'm like, I can trust them. Like I would call them. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Super cool. So, and then you said you had basically a 13-year sobriety stint. There
yeah.
was some degree of, like you say, there was some degree of, I got the impression that you mentioned, wasn't always, there's obviously the pink cloud and such. There's a little bit of white knuckling in there and all that. And then you did mention there was a relapse with alcohol. Was that what
Yeah. Yeah.
ended that
So
13 years? Okay.
yeah. So my husband he had 32 years and was using while he started using again um while I was trying to get pregnant, and we had to do fertility stuff, so I wasn't touching anything. And then when I was pregnant he was using, and then it just I had the baby, was like pulled the rug out from underneath me like hard.
Oh, wow.
It was a lot for me. I'm like a working mom, like I like to work. I wasn't working. I had postpartum.
Mm,
He was kind of he definitely had some things going on. I got cheated on.
mm,
It's a lot, and I just was like, fuck it. I just numbed everything, and it was
yeah.
like just a lot of numbing for a very long time until I
Mm,
realized like, where I'm in St. Louis, and um there's a lot of AA and not a lot of NA. And
mm,
drugs were like my main thing. Like I was like a drug addict. And so for me, when I go to all these AA, I'd always be like, I don't really relate. Like unless someone talk about drugs, I'd be like, oh yes, like
right.
okay. But I went because was the best that I could do, and it's still a program. And I mean, I know it's all the same, but I just felt like, well, you weren't like smoking meth and doing GHB and ketamine
Right.
and like taking like 8 ecstasy pills a day. Like,
Right.
like I don't understand that you could just go get drunk with your kid in the car. Like that, like, are you kidding me? Like
Yeah.
that's where I was.
Gotcha.
And then I was like, oh, okay, wait, this could
Yeah.
be me drinking in the car with my kid. Like, so
Mm,
I realized I started really relating to all those stories. And then I got sober, and then COVID hit. And that was like, I mean, just like everyone says, like, I'm an extrovert. Like I didn't have meetings. So it was
right.
rough. So I'm back on track, one day at a time,
One day at a time.
doing a lot of fucking work.
No doubt. And like you said, the second one was not quite as pink cloudy as
No,
that
I
first
feel a
time,
little
right?
pink. I feel like
Yeah.
the pink cloud is here right
Oh,
now.
oh,
So I'm
good,
getting
good.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So when
It
is
took
your
a lot of cravings and a lot of just fuck. It was fucking hard. I don't know.
yeah, it's
But
challenging, right?
yeah,
And
that
so
one I was like, this shit is a disease. I know.
yeah, yeah, wow. And so when was your like do you have a specific like sober birthday for this for like kicking the alcohol this last time, or you just some time
Do I
ago?
have to tell you this?
No, absolutely not. You don't have to disclose it if you're not comfortable. Absolutely not. Don't. No, all good. All good.
I'm
Uh
not comfortable, but I don't have a lot of
yeah.
time. No.
Yeah.
But
Oh, all good.
I'm doing it.
Do
I'm
it.
back
Yeah.
on it. Yeah,
I
no,
love
I'm in
that.
a really good place right now.
Yeah,
So
good. Yeah, for sure. The yeah, and you got a lot going on right now, so I really want to give you an opportunity. It seems like you've put together a lot of different things that were strengths, beforehand, and now you're doing them with this, second chance, so to speak, with the sobriety. From what I gather, you're still doing the DJing. I know that was big on I saw
yeah, a
on your
little bit.
Instagram, a little bit
Yeah,
here and there. Cool.
yeah.
And so tell me a little bit about SeeFit Living as well. So this is about like people that are, having
Yeah.
issues. They can't quite put their finger on it, right? I'm picturing like some gray area drinking or drug using.
I don't
Yeah.
know that it's so much like I don't target that kind of demographic. I never really
Okay.
have. I really, really just started getting really open about my recovery after my relapse, and like being
Yeah.
on some podcasts about prison. And
Yeah.
so for me, I was really sick. I was kind of sick as a kid, and I think that's part of like doing the drugs. I actually felt good, like healthy. Like I had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of stomach issues, struggled with
Mm,
like a lot of You know, I just always felt sick. I was always really puffy. My hormones were kind of whacked.
Mm.
And I don't know if all the drug use just like ruined. I mean, I know it definitely put my body through a lot. And when I got out of prison, I became a personal trainer and I realized like I was doing all the right things, like a lot of people do, eating really clean, like psycho, like take the addict. I was doing the addict the other way. Now I have a pretty good balance now, but I was
Yeah.
like, and I was not getting any results and I was feeling worse. And so that's when I started running all these functional labs and looking
Mm.
at like your hormones, your adrenals, your gut,
Mm.
food sensitivities, heavy metals, like all these underlying stressors that could be the root cause of what's going on. Because all the doctors were like, "Nope, your labs are fine. You're fine.
Wow. Hmm.
Everything's fine." And I just like kept listening to my gut. I'm like, "No, like I'm not okay. Like
Yeah.
something is wrong." And then, yeah, that's when I got into all of that. So
That
I
stuff
do now.
is, yeah, that stuff is so interesting. And I know it's so like person dependent. And I found anytime I go down like the rabbit hole of nutrition, like if I just do like my own online research, there's so much
Ugh.
like was it conflicting information. Be like, okay, I think I've got this figured out. And then I read another article and it's like shits all over the one I just read. I'm like, okay, what is
Keep it
actually,
simple, baby. Keep
is
it
it?
simple.
Okay. Yeah, please. Like, what are some of the things that you've found for some of this, whether it's like stress reduction, craving management, anything that you've found, like some of these like simple things that you live by now?
Well, I mean, as far as like the people I work with who are in recovery and stuff, like I see the switch over to sugar like full
Right.
fledged. Like it's like I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God. Like, and they're like, I'm good. Like I'm in recovery. I'm like, dude, you eat so much sugar and like exercise 8 hours a day. Like that's, you know, that's why you're not reaching your goals. But
Yeah.
you know, I think it's eating whole foods. Like
Mm.
just don't like get rid of all the toxins. Like you,
Yeah.
if you can't pronounce it and you don't know what's in it, then don't eat it, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Just keep everything like very simple. Like don't like protein, healthy carbs, you know, anything that has a ton of ingredients, I would definitely question, you know, but
Mm.
it's gotten so much easier. Like I remember when I first started eating clean, like you couldn't find anything that was like even sweet that was healthy. Or now there's like the Hue Kitchen chocolate, the Smarts, like there's so many
Mm.
different options with clean
Mm.
stuff that you can't really say, oh well, I went and had like a Snickers and this, because there is a healthy version, you know.
Yeah. Ooh,
um
that's good. That's good. I like that.
and you know, I mean, I think it's like your gut, if you've been drinking and have hormone problems or a lot of PMS, anxiety, all that, it's probably the drinking. Like that is one
Mm.
thing I can take away, is like I thought I all of a sudden had all this anxiety and like
Yeah.
my hormones, like I have PCO, polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's an
Mm.
autoimmune condition, and like that was always flared up. And
Mm.
I'm like, it's like, like, okay, quit drinking. Everything's fucking fine. Like,
Yeah. Imagine that, right?
I
Yeah.
mean, okay, maybe I don't have anxiety, like
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
all. Like, but you drink because you think that that's going to
That's,
help with the anxiety.
yeah.
But and
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to sleep better, and like,
Yeah.
you know, so I did learn a lot through that whole little challenge there. I was like,
Yeah.
you know.
Definitely. What is that? What would you consider like the whole carb thing? Like what is a good carb? Because again, that's
Okay,
like,
so
yeah.
my favorite go-tos I would recommend to my clients would be potatoes, sweet potatoes, quinoa, rice, brown or white, butternut squash, acorn squash, fruit, more like the berries type
Mhm.
of fruit. I would avoid like bananas, melons, and mangoes. They're high in mold.
Damn it.
Um, and let's see what else, like pumpkin, you know, any of the
Mm.
less, I mean, the less grains and the more like starchy vegetables as your carb, beets.
Okay.
And I
So
mean,
it's
like greens and zucchini, they're all carbs, but they're just super low glycemic. So they're not like a higher carb count.
gotcha. And what is your take
Yeah.
on, so if I were to eat like is there such a thing as like a healthy bread? Because you mentioned like the grains, not so much. White bread is obviously not necessarily good for you either.
I
Is
mean,
there
there's
a,
some that are made from rice,
oh,
you know,
okay.
or
Yeah.
cassava flour. There's some made from almond flour now, coconut
Right.
flour, you know.
Okay. Almond
The
flour,
Siete,
almond
like if
flour.
you need wraps, I like that Siete brand.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Um, and then Egg Life makes a good like egg white wrap, which is pretty good.
Oh, sounds good. Very cool.
You should go to
Thanks.
my Amazon, go to my link tree, and then you'll go
Oh,
to my, like there'll be like an Amazon products page which has
mhm.
all this Amazon stuff that's like basically everything I own, like biohacking and products and supplements.
Really?
And then there's also going to be like at the bottom of it, there's going to be discount. There might be a link tree just for SeeFit. I think it's SeeFit _ products, but it's on all of them. Put my
Okay.
link tree in the thing, they'll find it. But
Rad.
basically you get discount codes for all of my favorite products, like
Wow.
granola, like then I just
Yeah, the granola, yeah.
granola.
Yeah.
That's expired, but
That's we got a couple weeks. We got a couple weeks now. Yeah, at time of recording.
make sure you eat that granola. Like everyone, free granola. Have Merry Christmas. Make sure you eat it.
Yeah. Make sure you eat that now. Yeah. Oh, too funny.
Yeah.
Okay,
chocolate.
that's right.
It'll have all sorts of like things if you're curious of like what I would recommend to clients.
I love that. That's a really good idea, and to have like the actual link, because it's one thing to say it, but you're like, buy it from here. Here it is. Amazon's wonderful. Get it next day, kind of thing, right? If you have Prime.
Yeah, they have the Amazon, and then you can just go to the websites, and there's discount codes on all of them.
That's badass. That's a really great resource. Yeah, thanks for. We'll definitely have that in the show notes, or we'll have it in your. Let's see what I have for your show notes before we So I have SeeFit Living at Instagram, all one word, all lowercase, and I have your Facebook.
SeeFit.
Yes, that's right. And Samantha Lander or SeeFit on Facebook. So those are the two. When I email you after, if you can send me back your link tree, that'd be wonderful. And then we'll have that.
But I can't. I think it's just.
Oh, is it?
It's Linktree SeeFit Live.
Oh, super easy.
Are we done? Are we done? Are we not talking anymore?
No, we are talking. We are talking.
Oh, okay.
I've gotten loose with my questions. So yeah, we're still talking.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have a look. See, I like the casual approach with the interviews.
Linktree, and then the / SeeFit Living, and then the other one is SeeFit Living products.
Rad. Okay. Well, I'll look that up and I'll make sure that's in the show notes as well. Yeah, and I'm just wondering what else. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about as far as like, do you have some programs? Do you have anything upcoming that you'd like to promote if somebody's wanting to reach out to you?
I do. So I do a free discovery call. So if anyone's just like, man, like I can't get a handle on my health, I can't lose weight, like I feel like just, I don't know, something's not right. And I'm trying all these things. I don't even know what to eat. Like I'm just frustrated. It's kind of like the sick and tired of being sick and tired. Doctors say I'm fine. My thyroid's fine. Or you're like having constipation all the time. You're like, everyone says you're fine, but it's not. You can do a free discovery call. So it's just 45 minutes. The link is on my link tree. And you just book a discovery call. And we just basically go through your health history and we talk about everything. And I tell you like how I feel I can help you. And if I can't, I am happy to refer out to another practitioner. I'm not like weird about that. And I kind of come up with a plan for you and we'll have a program set up for you. And then I do have on my link tree, you can get there's a bunch of free downloads. There is a 14-day no sugar challenge. There is right now I have a 30-day cleanse challenge, which is pretty cool. So it takes it kind of next levels with webinars, workouts, recipes. It's basically doing like a hardcore like cleanse, like the basic level without running the labs with me.
Yeah.
Like starting to get your feet wet on how to be like really, really clean and live a really healthy lifestyle, like cleaning out your home, getting rid of all like toxic products, throwing away all those candles that are probably fucking you up.
Yeah.
It's just little things that people don't think about. And like when you should go to bed, things you can do like castor oil packs and coffee enemas and dry brushing and just like these are all I mean, why not?
Yeah, 100%.
Especially because recovery. I mean, we've done a lot of damage. We need a lot of repair.
That's right. Yeah, I love that. It sounds like some wonderful resources. I love the amount of work you've done on the inner work on yourself. And now you're looking to, share what you found. You've been the guinea pig for yourself. Like you say, you're not afraid to fail. I don't really view it as failure. It's, it's trial and error. It's experimentation to find the right way to do something, right? It sounds like you're a big proponent of that. Really enjoyed talking with you, and we'll have everything in the show notes. Oh man, I had something that I wanted to ask you, and now I'm totally drawing a blank, which is just the worst. It's like right at the end of my.
I can help you with that.
Yeah, right. There we go.
Brain fog. People come to me with brain fog, like
brain
mother.
Fog. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Damn it. Oh, it was going to be a great topic to end off, and here I am forgetting. Oh yeah, there we go. It was just going to be a fun, I had two just sort of fun questions to end with, because you mentioned travel at the beginning. What would be your top 3 destinations to travel right now if money was no object? If you could just leave tomorrow, what would be your top 3?
I would love to go skiing. I have not been in like 8 years, even though I hate it. Like I hate it,
but yeah, you want to go.
I really want to go.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't even know why. I'm going to Turks and Caicos in a couple weeks, so I'm pretty excited
Yes.
about that. But
Right.
I am definitely a warm climate kind of girl. So, any of those like really Caribbean exotic type beach places, I would I'll go to any of them.
Any of them, all the above, all the above. Very cool.
And if it's some sort of like, if part of it would be like where I have my vacation, and then part of it is like I work on like some inner work and go to some like retreat where you like really dig in there and you like sit in a sweat lodge and cry for 5 hours. That would be good to like, or maybe start with that. I don't know. Then I might lose my mind after, but yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Go find myself. Right.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. Have you done like a plant medicine before? Because I'm picturing like a ayahuasca, retreat or something.
Yeah,
okay,
no. I'm sober. Like,
you're just we'll keep it like that, right? Yeah, gotcha.
No, I've done a lot in prison. I did a lot of sweat lodges.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I kind of struggle with religion. I grew up with not much of a religion, so I don't have a lot of foundation as far as that. So, I saw what it did for people in prison. And I think I wanted, like, I asked my parents for a bat mitzvah when I was younger, but they didn't. They just threw me a party. And then my kid is the prodigy of 2 addicts, so he needs to have something like you know what I mean? I think I really struggled with the God thing more than I realized, like this second go around, and like just giving it up. But I saw what it did. Like I would always, like, the Native Americans like brought me into their little world, and that was like probably the best form of religion I've ever had. Like it was very spiritual, very like it was like my jam. I went to church with my roommate. Like, I don't know. I just like went and was like, I don't know, maybe this will fix me. I hung out with this one other Jewish lady that was there. But I actually, about 7 months ago, met with a rabbi in town, joined a temple, got my kid in Sunday school, and I'm having a bat mitzvah this summer.
No way. Wow. That's quite the story. That's really cool.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like doing it all. I'm like to get this before I'm 50. Like, I'm gonna be okay.
That is hilarious. Wow. So cool. So cool. Final question for you, Sam. You're a big music fan. What would be like your top 3 albums, like your most influential albums?
Oh God, I don't know.
Or bands.
I loved Janis Joplin and Paul Simon growing up. Like that was just, like,
great choices. Yeah.
And then I was a soundtrack kind of girl. Like I really liked soundtracks. I love the soundtrack. I remember Empire Records.
Yes, so good.
I like all music. Like it's so hard to say that.
Yeah.
I could tell you what I'm listening to right now. Like going through some weird. So I have a couple things. So we'll go on my Napster.
Napster. Yeah. Napster. There we go.
I totally have Napster. I'm not joking.
Oh my goodness.
I get
thought of Napster in a while. That's so
I
funny.
have Napster.
Tremendous.
So Indian Summer, Jai Wolf is one I just downloaded. And then Look Up Child by Lauren Daigle.
Okay, I've heard the name. I'll have to look. Yeah,
and
check that out.
Broken by Jonah Kagan.
Okay.
And these get really sad. I'm not gonna go.
Okay. Yeah, we'll cap it at that. Nice. There's a little bit of what you're listening to now.
I love all like electronic music and all.
Yeah.
I love music.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's hard. Like I do miss like the DJing a lot, but it's like late night and it's I'll get there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I don't really drink and go out though, so I don't know that I would have a problem, but whatever.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure it'll come back when it's time for it to come back. Sounds like a big passion of yours, so I imagine it'll be waiting for you.
I know. I gotta find out about your music thing.
That's right. Yeah, I'll let you know after we finish up here. But Sam, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Wonderful story. I love what you're doing. I love how in depth you've gone into all these different avenues, in your recovery and how you're sharing it with others. And yeah, I've just really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for coming on today. Any final words to put you on the spot?
One day at a time, man.
There we go.
1 minute. 1 minute.
1 minute.
I don't know. I could,
the
shit that I see in my head all day long. I could tell you what my hourly conscious reminder is that comes up on my app. No, but one day at a time,
Yeah. What is I'm curious now. What is the hourly reminder?
Dude, I got this new app. So I have all these like sober apps. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah.
With you. This one is just called the 12-step toolkit.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of them I don't like. Or like some I was like, wait, you have to pay for it, but
Oh, of course.
isn't part of the program like you like
Yeah.
how is
Yeah.
that?
They're monetizing the program. Come on.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm not going to pay for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice try. Nice try.
Jesus. But this one
Awesome.
just has stuff pop up every hour. I'm like, oh, I really like it. Yeah.
That's cool.
The
And what was it called again? Sorry.
12-step toolkit.
12-step toolkit. There we go.
I know a
Got
big one is the sober buddy, but then you got to pay for that one.
yes. Yeah, I've heard a lot of
And if I
about that
don't
one.
check in, like if I open it, it's fine. But if I didn't check in, like at the exact time it asked me to, it
Yeah.
wouldn't do my day. I remember at one
Oh,
point.
well, that's kind of a drag.
I know.
The other one I hear a lot about, especially on Instagram, is Reframe, the Reframe app. I don't know if you heard of
Oh,
that.
yeah, but that's just if you want to like just stop drinking. It's not for, it's like for, oh, I'm going to stop drinking. Like, let me retrain it's not really like 12
Oh.
program.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, a little bit. It's
It's
an
like, oh,
alternative.
I'm not, yeah, it's
Yeah, I
kind of
gotcha.
like,
Yeah, I gotcha.
yeah.
Awesome. Right on. Thanks for your time today, Sam.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
You bet.